Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to Post Cologne. Today I'm going to give you 7 Beast Mode fragrance clones that'll get you noticed. So let's jump into it. All right, so today we are talking Beast Mode fragrance clones. Fragrances that will definitely get you noticed. People are going to smell you and you're going to be smelling it fantastic, but in some cases you got to be a little bit careful with some of these because they are very powerful, and I have a nice variety for you from a bunch of different brands and a bunch of different scent profiles. Links are going to be down in the description if you decide you want to check any of these fragrances out, and let's quit screwing around and let's get into it. All right, kicking things off, going to the house of Dumont, and it's Dumont's Bravano Baron. Now, this is a clone or kind of a twist of 2 different fragrances of the Parfums de Marly's Carlisle, as well as a little bit of inspired by Mancera Red Tobacco. And this is a fantastic, powerful fragrance. If you're into kind of sweet tobacco, earthy, smoky, resinous style of fragrances, this is an absolutely beautiful style of tobacco fragrance. Has some nice spices in it. This really nice osmanthus that's in the opening, so it gives it kind of that fruity apricot green floral style of touch to it. But as this opens up and gets towards the dry down, you get a nice earthiness that comes through, some smokiness, a little bit of kind of a resinous vibe that goes on to it, but you're still maintaining kind of that sweet fruity tobacco, and it's just an absolutely gorgeous fragrance. Not as sweet as the Carlisle, and it's not as in your face as the Mancera Red Tobacco. Kind of a nice hybrid, nice blend of those 2 fragrances. And it's absolutely gorgeous, and it is a very strong fragrance. First 2-3 hours worth of projection is just blasting off your skin. People are definitely going to smell you, and the longevity on this is also fantastic. I'm getting 10+ hours off my skin, no problem. Get some on your clothing and that lasts into the next day. So if you're looking for a nice kind of sweet, earthy, resinous style of tobacco with little hints of some smokiness to it, and if you're a fan of the Parfums de Marly Carlisle and the Mancera Red Tobacco, I think you're gonna really enjoy this one. That's Dumont's Bravano Baron. All right, next up, going to the house of Ahmed Al Maghribi with Ahmed Al Maghribi's Cough. Now, this fragrance is a clone inspired by Abercrombie and Finch Fierce, and also has some overlaps with the Parfums de Marly's Percival. And let me tell you, this is a deceivingly strong fragrance. The Centicord in this, you wouldn't think is gonna be super powerful, but let me tell you, it is. And I'm gonna be very careful with the spray on this. Yeah, right out the gate, you just get blasted with some really nice red fruits that come through. This nice clean lavender has this freshness to it, these sea accords that come through, and you get these really nice florals that are in the mid. This Lily of the Valley has this kind of green sharpness to it, but it also has this kind of, again, that kind of watery nature that works in really well with those sea accords, those aromatics, those red fruits. Just has a very fresh, clean, uplifting sort of vibe, but it is super strong, and it might be even a little off-putting to people in the beginning because of how strong this comes through, but it does have that really nice kind of that fruity, floral, sea accord sort of nature going on to it that just screams of the summertime. As you get towards the dry down, a little bit more of this smooth sandalwood comes out. You get a nice ambroxan push with some muskiness that comes through, but you still get that, maintain those florals that are in the mid, so you get that nice kind of green, watery, floral touch with some of that sweetness that still remains from those red fruits and that aromatics from that lavender, just giving it that kind of clean, fresh sort of vibe. Really nice fragrance, but very strong. And like I said, the opening of this is very aggressive and it could scare people off, but once you get towards that mid and that dry down, it does smooth out and it does give you that really nice kind of summery, fresh, clean sort of feel. But the performance on this is absolutely nuclear. Like the first 2-3 hours, this blasts off your skin. You are gonna fill a room, so be careful on the indoors when you're using this one. And in terms of longevity, it's well beyond the 10-hour mark off skin. And to get some on your clothing, you're gonna have to put it through the wash cycle at least once before you're kind of washing that fragrance out. Very strong fragrance, really great for the summertime, and definitely worth checking out. That's Ahmed Al Maghribi's Cough. All right, next up, going to the house of Lattafa, and it's Lattafa's Amir. Now, this fragrance is a clone or a twist of the Clive Christian Town and Country, and let me tell you, this is a fantastic citrus, green herbaceous, kind of ambery, woody style of fragrance, and absolutely gorgeous. The opening on this is so loud. The citruses that come through, the lemon, and especially the bergamot that comes through, very loud, very pronounced, screaming from the rooftops. And it mixes in really nice with these juniper berries that come through, this nice clary sage, so it has this aromatic touch to it, a little bit of sweetness, kind of a green herbaceous sweetness that comes through, and this nice white tea that's in there, so again, kind of adding a little bit of sweetness to those very strong, very kind of tart bergamot that's mixed in there. Absolutely gorgeous, citrusy, fresh, spicy, green herbaceous punch that comes through in that opening and has this nice kind of ambery texture to it. So it gives it this, almost this fuzziness, this classiness, this sort of gentlemanly vibe that mixes in with this really kind of fresh, clean, lively style of fresh spiciness and citrus. Beautiful opening to this, and as you get towards the dry down, you get a little bit more woods that come through, some nice smooth sandalwood makes its appearance. Little touches of some green, but that more kind of elevates that green herbaceous note that's there. And through, you're just left with a really kind of classy, gentlemanly, mature style of kind of citrus, herbaceous style of fragrance, and I absolutely love this one. And performance on this is fantastic. First hour and a half, this absolutely radiates off your skin. This is a room-filling fragrance for sure for that first hour and a half. The amberiness that's here just really kind of pushes out, and people are definitely going to smell you for that first hour and a half. And once it does settle back in, you're getting about 8+ hours worth of longevity, no problem. Get some on your clothing and you're going to smell that through a wash cycle. Very strong fragrance, really big projection on this one, and definitely worth checking out. That's Lattafa's Amir. All right, next up, going back to the house of Dumont with Dumont's Nitro Red. Now, this fragrance is pretty much a Paco Rabanne Invictus style of cologne, but it does have a little hint of some kind of Baccarat Rouge 540 amberiness that goes on to it, and doesn't quite hit the Invictus style of DNA, but it's definitely going to remind you of that for sure, especially with this fruity opening. You get this apple that comes through, you get this nice clean lavender that just gives it a freshness. There's a bit of a kind of a watery, aquatic sort of vibe going on to it, as well as this candied watermelon that is absolutely just fun, flirty, youthful style of fruity sweetness. It just has this fresh crispness to it with that apple coming through and that watery watermelon that just really adds to that vibe. So it's very, like I said, very fun, very flirty style of opening. As you get towards the dry down, you get a little bit more amberiness that comes through, so it gives it kind of that, almost this Baccarat Rouge 540 sort of fuzziness that happens with it, adding some additional sweetness. It does sit on this really nice sandalwood that works well with those watery textures that come through, that kind of sea accord mixing with the watermelon and that really fruity apple. And it's just an overall really fun fragrance, and is definitely for the younger crowd, or let me say the more youthful at heart crowd, because it doesn't matter what age you are, you can wear whatever fragrance you want. But definitely got to be careful with this one, because this is a very strong fragrance, and if you go crazy on the sprays, you're just gonna blast out your math class. This one, projection on this for the first 2-3 hours is well beyond an arm's length. People are definitely going to smell you, and the longevity on this, I'm getting about 10 hours worth of longevity off my skin. Get some on my clothing, and this lasts through a wash cycle for sure. So very strong fragrance. Really people are definitely gonna smell you, so you got to be a little bit easy on the trigger. But if you're into that kind of fun, fruity, almost aquatic kind of amberiness that comes with the Invictus, with little kisses of that Baccarat Rouge 540, you might want to check this one out. That's Dumont's Nitro Red. All right, next up, going to the house of Rasasi, and it's Rasasi's Ahouass Black. Now, this fragrance is primarily a clone of Mishani's Hacivat, and it does have a little bit of that kind of Creed Aventus style of DNA to it. And I've already done a full review on this one, and in the review, I said this smells fantastic and this is a very strong fragrance, but I did kind of crap on it a little bit because I was just a little disappointed that Rasasi kind of took it to the Hacivat Creed Aventus DNA. Thought they could have done something a little bit different. That is neither here nor there, because this definitely smells good, and this is definitely a powerful fragrance. Has a really nice citrusy opening, some pineapple, some grapefruit, bergamot that comes through. Mixes in with this really nice oak moss. It just gives it that kind of earthiness that comes through, and it mixes in really well with that bergamot. You get that sweetness from the pineapple coming through, and you get some nice woods as well, some cedar, touches of some earthy patchouli, and just a little hint of some jasmine around the edges, just kind of giving it a bit of a softer edge, a bit of a floral touch to just kind of tone down that citrus, oak moss, woody, earthy sort of profile going on to it. But really kind of bright citruses in this one, and has this nice little kind of ambery fuzziness as well that mixes in about the midpoint to the dry down, and it just works really well with that oak moss. So great smelling fragrance, great interpretation of that Hacivat style of DNA. And this is an absolute monster. For the first 2 hours plus, this is really projects off. This is, again, a room-filling fragrance. People are gonna smell you across the street if you go crazy on the sprays with this one. And the longevity is fantastic as well, 10+ hours. Get some on your clothing, you're gonna be smelling that well into the next day. So very strong fragrance, sticking with that kind of Ahouass reputation of being a beast mode fragrance. And if you're into that Hacivat DNA, if you're looking for kind of a nice, bright, masculine style of a citrus, oak moss, and some woods, you definitely wanna check this one out. That's Rasasi's Ahouass Black. All right, next up, going back to the house of Lattafa, and it's Lattafa's Atlas. Now, this fragrance is a clone of Order Parisia's Megamar, and let me tell you, this is the strongest ocean aquatic fragrance that I've probably smelt and definitely in my collection. And if you're into kind of aquatic ocean seaside style of fragrances, you are gonna like this one. Opens with a real big punch of some salt, some sea accords, some nice lemon that comes through, this powdery style of iris that's in the mid, so it kind of adds this nice, like, soft florally touch that really contrasts nice with that kind of salty punch that you get, as well as that lemon, and just has that kind of, that by the seaside kind of green, sweet, aquatic sort of vibe going on to it. And it's just a really nice mix of those accords. As you get towards the dry down, you get this really nice creamy sandalwood that comes through. It adds this kind of like this dry beach driftwood sort of thing going on to it that has that kind of salty punch that moves its way in, that nice kind of powdery iris with the Divana as well, adding the sweet floral touches to the edges. And overall, it's just a really beautiful, aquatic, oceanic, green, sweet, salty style of fragrance. And I just really enjoy this scent DNA, and the performance on this is absolutely nuclear. First 2-3 hours worth of projection off this is well beyond an arm's length. This is, again, a room-filling fragrance that you definitely have to be careful on the sprays. It's deceivingly strong. You might not think you're projecting as hard as you are. So kind of dial down the sprays that you normally would, because trust me, people are definitely going to smell you. And the longevity on this is fantastic. 10+ hours off my skin, gets them on my clothing. I found even after a few wash cycles, I was still getting that salty punch that comes through with this fragrance on clothes, like 1 or 2 wash cycles after the fact. So very strong longevity, really powerful projection on this one. And if you're into kind of oceanside, sea, aquatic style of fragrances with a nice little kisses of some florals, you definitely want to check this one out. That's Lattafa's Atlas. All right, last, but certainly not least, going to the house of Khadlaj, and it's Khadlaj Shiaka. Now, this fragrance is a clone of Amouage Reflection Man, and this might be my favorite within this list I'm doing today. Absolutely love this fragrance. Just a beautiful mix of some florals. It has nice texture to it, nice level of sweetness with some green touches and some woods. Just absolutely a beautiful interpretation of that Amouage Reflection Man. Just opens with this nice clean style of neroli that mixes really well with this kind of powdery iris sweet style of orris root. Has that just a really nice combination of those textures. You get that fresh cleanness, you get this powdery sweetness that comes through, a little pop of some pink pepper in there, so you get a bit of a fresh spice, a little bit of additional sweetness as well, and there are some additional florals that just kind of surround that scent accord, but it's really about that orris root, that neroli that comes through, and a little bit of those green, fresh, spicy aspects. Absolutely gorgeous opening on this one. As you get towards the dry down, a little bit more woods come through. I get a little bit more sandalwood than anything, so it has this nice smoothness that really works well with that powdery, sweet iris, but it also has a little touch of some vetiver, a little bit of a fresh, spicy cedar that mixes in there, and some additional green touches just to tie everything together. This is just an absolutely gorgeous, opulent, sophisticated, gentlemanly sort of scent DNA, and I absolutely love this one, and the performance is fantastic. First 2-3 hours worth of projection. This is well beyond an arm's length. You're gonna definitely be smelled by people around you. Beautiful scent bubble, beautiful sillage on this one, and the longevity on this is fantastic. 10+ hours off my skin, no problem, and get some on your clothing, and that'll last well into the next day. Just absolutely gorgeous fragrance. If you're into the Amouage Reflection Man, if you're into kind of irisy, powdery, floral style of fragrances that have just enough kind of green edges and some woods mixed in, you might want to check this one out. That's Khadlaj Shiaka Red. All right, so there you have it. That's 7 Beast Mode fragrance clones, but I want to hear from you guys. What are some of your favorite Beast Mode fragrance clones? Comment down below. Love hearing from you guys. Love getting your different recommendations, your hidden gems, different tastes and scent profiles. Appreciate you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.